Greetings and salutations, and we're back with some more just random warlock hardcore shenanigans in Nightmare. I've been kind of popping in between games, obviously. I have the whole backlog thing that I've been doing, which I do like that whole idea of playing games in the backlog. Games that I've just never played, never installed. I thought about playing Final Fantasy XIV, the trial version, as I didn't sub to it or anything. But with the free trial, they said you get something in the ballpark of like thousands of hours, and you can play pretty much every job type except for one, I think it is. Anyway, I thought about doing that, and I've been tinkering around with off-meta decks in Hearthstone, and I've almost made Platinum already. But a lot of people have been getting bored of the meta in Hearthstone. Shocker. And the reason I say shocker in such a snide way is quite simply whenever you have a game, and it doesn't matter what game it is, whenever you have a game that becomes a settled science of what is the new go-to meta card, meta build, or with like Modern Warfare, meta gun, and it's literally game defining, what happens? People stop trying to do new things because people are literal win junkies. They are so driven about winning and driven about, oh, I have to win, I have to be the winner, I have to win every time. And they drive themselves to this point of, well, if they're not winning, they're not, it's just not good, right? And so it's kind of become this whole like oddball win junkie circle. And I had somebody be really upset that I called people win junkies. I mean, to the point that he said, "Oh yes, because you don't want to win the game at all." And I said, "No, I really don't care whether I win the game or not." Right? It's not like it's the number one thing in my mind all day every day that I have to win the game, and if I'm not winning the game, I'm not playing the game. Know what I mean? Apparently, this person saw that as a personal attack, and it's almost like that meme, and I took that personally. And they did. They literally started losing their ever-loving mind, saying that I'm one of those people that just doesn't understand it, and that I'm terrible, and that I'm somehow the bad guy. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you know what? I really don't care if I win or not. It's not high on my list of, oh yes, I must win the game. It's not. There's one thing that I would love more than anything else, and that is a balanced card game where it doesn't matter what you're playing. If you're playing Magic the Gathering, if you're playing, any sort of card game. I mean, even Lorcana or whatever that one is called. That's the one that's Disney where you have to go on like quests and adventures or some crap like that. Don't know, never played it, but you get what I'm saying. That one. Like, if there was a let's use something like that as a jumping off point. Let's say there was a preferred way to win that game quickly, and you could win it by, say, I don't know if there's turns in Lorcana, but let's say turn 3, turn 2. The games are exceedingly short. Do you think anybody would sit down and want to play across from that? Would that be fun? Not really. And so, that's the same thing that happens with, like, Magic the Gathering. But where Magic the Gathering is worse is Magic the Gathering doesn't sit there and cycle out their standard cards. Right? Whatever is standard in Magic the Gathering is pretty much standard until it's no longer standard. And then you'll get to, like, vintage format, right? Which people are going to tell me, you know, oh, the things like Vintage or other formats in Magic the Gathering are just because those are older cards and the erratas have changed and the gameplay has changed. It's like, no, I don't buy that at all. What it is they had to bring out a separate format because they couldn't justify consistently printing cards ad nauseum. Which, let me tell you right now, that's one of the biggest things that just grinds my bones to dust right now, is how bad Hasbro is doing at exactly that. The whole they're literally overprinting cards. I mean, I'll even look it up. I don't even know how many Magic sets are printed a year, but I know it's a lot. That much I do know. I'll look it up here in a second. I just don't want to die. And I'm telling you, when you realize just how bad it is, you'll be shocked. But they never rotate cards. They never sit there and go, ah, yes, well, this format is no longer usable. These expansions are being cycled out so that other expansions have a time to shine. The newer cards have a time to shine, and it allows us to reset power creep, which is a big thing, right? They punch the reset button on power creep. They don't do that in Magic the Gathering, but you can imagine they would if they actually did. Hasbro doesn't do that, though. Instead, they're like, what other intellectual property can we milk off? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure people really enjoy having Sephiroth, the one-winged angel, going around, manhandling Avatar Aang next to SpongeBob SquarePants. Sure, I'm guessing that just blends well together. It's like Kingdom Hearts, right? You have the bunch of people that used to play Kingdom Hearts, which, by the way, I angered a whole bunch of the people of that fandom by saying, I just don't see the point in it. You have people in Final Fantasy sitting next to Goofy. As if Kefka's not going to try to gaslight Goofy into poisoning the well. I mean, he gaslit players into poisoning a well. That's just kind of how Kefka is. But nevertheless, the point remains. And while I'm here, I'm going to bring up... Actually, I'm going to bring it up. Give me 2 seconds. How many Magic the Gathering sets are printed each year? Because I want to know. But really, the first one is a thing that says, is Wizards printing too many cards? Joycontainers.com. Let's see. 1993, don't really care about that. Let's see. Regular release schedule. Wizards of the Coast allows a consistent release schedule, typically launching 4 major sets annually. Each set introduces 250 to 300 cards. I know for a fact that that's gone up because they have gone to a berserk level of printing. How do I know this? My brother-in-law and my nephew go to pre-releases, and this is about the 5th or 6th that they've talked about this year alone. Like, some of them are like secret layer drops and other crap like that, which again wouldn't be so bad if there was a power level reset. Gotta remember, Magic doesn't do this. Also, the other thing I hate, and this is something I cannot stress enough. I understand why Hearthstone did it, right? And I understand why other things like Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a little bit more lax on it, so I'll give them a little bit of slack on this one. I know that there's a minimum card requirement in Yu-Gi-Oh! But I know that there's also, as far as I remember, when I played Master Duel on Steam, there was not a maximum card limit. Magic the Gathering, however, has decided to pull a page out of Tropic Thunder and just, you know how they say in Tropic Thunder, never go full retard? They did. Because Magic the Gathering used to have a 40 card limit, meaning base limit 40 cards. You used to have a 40 card standard that said you cannot, go under 40 cards. You had to have at least 40 in your deck. Okay, fair, round, nice even number. Good, it gives you, limit 4 copies of a card per deck. Sounds good. Sounds wonderful. Sounds like a great start, right? Well, let's really talk about that. So you have this going on about, you have a bare limit of cards, etc., so on and so forth. What do I want to do? Do I want to do Blood Oath? Yeah, I think I do. Because then they get more life. And they take less damage. So with this... Wow, I'm just magic finding out my wazoo right now. With them doing this, about saying, oh, well, you have at least 40 cards, at the very least. But if you want to put 200 cards in your standard Magic deck back in the day, this was perfectly allowable. In fact, there was a win con. I forgot what it was called. Let me look it up, as a matter of fact, because I want people to know. I literally played during this era. Battle of Wits from 2013. And I believe it also it came out in Odyssey, was the original, I believe it was one of the original prints. Yeah, Odyssey was the original print. Battle of Wits, 2 blue, 3 colorless, enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 200 or more cards in your library, you win the game. You win the game. Great alternative win condition, beautiful, right? So you could hypothetically make a win condition over having too many cards. And this was allowable in Standard back then. It's not allowable in Standard anymore because everyone's a humorless dick. You must now, and this is exactly, and I'm gonna make a World War II reference here, so hold on to your seats. They are literally like the SS. They are walking around going, you cannot have more than 60 cards in your deck, and you must now play with only 60 cards. 4 copies is allowed unless restricted. And when it is restricted, you must obey the restriction, and there will be no miscommunication. And this is how, they literally went like Stasi police on everybody. And it's not much better with Commander. With Commander, it's you must have limit 1 card of any kind unless it's Relentless Rats or Heir Apparent. You must have 1 copy of every card. Only 1 copy of each card in your deck outside of land. Outside of basic land. And that's just stupid. Because there's no bonus, right? And let me use this as a juxtaposition counterpoint here, right? In Hearthstone, if you have 1 copy of each card, it's called a Highlander deck. There can be only 1, right? But with a Highlander deck, there was always a battle cry, which in Magic the Gathering would say, when this hits the battlefield. So there's a battle cry in Hearthstone that basically says, hey, it's a bit of a boon to run 1 card. We're going to give you a bonus for restricting yourself. You're restricting yourself to one copy of a card, so now we're going to give you a bonus. Beautiful. It's beautifully done that way. Magic doesn't do this. Everybody has 100 life, or everybody has 40 life in Commander. If you take 20 damage from the Commander, you die. If you take 10 poison counters, you die. Blah, blah, blah. So what's the point? Commander format was made by a whole bunch of single card dealers to push extra sales for cards that were otherwise junk in Standard and couldn't be played because they were absolutely manure. Wizards of the Coast needs to bring out a new Standard a new Standard rule set. Ready for this? Bring back a nice Standard rule set. Must have at least 40 cards. That's it. And limit 3. So now you're limiting 3 per deck instead of 4 because it thins out the deck. Makes your draw less optimal. Makes it so that it's harder to get your combo and your win condition. This is the whole idea. You can do limit 2, but limit 2 seems kind of on 40 cards. But if you do 40 cards, limit 3, and it's at least 40 cards, limit 3, now you're talking. Because now you've got back the old 40 card little power decks. These little tiny, mighty bites, so to speak. They're bite-sized decks that pack a lot of punch. And they're optimized for just really putting the harm out. Right? And that's what they need to bring back. And then they need to go one step further with Commander. I mean, I would be perfectly fine with them abolishing the format, but that's me. So, what I think they should do, this is my personal belief with Commander format, I think they should say, you can play with more than one copy in your deck. But it should say, there should be cards that say, if this deck, or if this card hits the battlefield, and your deck contains more than one copy of a card, insert thing happens. Or if your deck does not contain any duplicates, insert ability, right? I mean, that would be cool, because now you're getting a bonus for playing without duplicates. And people would say, yeah, but now you're just basically ripping off Hearthstone. Okay. You want to go with that whole you're just ripping off Hearthstone? That's the entire Commander format ripped off Hearthstone. Just so you know. They kind of ripped off each other because Commander format wasn't officially recognized for a long time. And Hearthstone was printing cards like Reno Jackson way back in the earliest of days of Hearthstone, which was, if your deck has no duplicates, Battlecry something. They've been doing it for a long time. Am I saying that other people are in the wrong for doing it? Am I saying that, these companies are ripping each other off? No. I'm just saying it's getting to be boring to play Magic the Gathering because they're overprinting cards. There's no power reset, so it's just going to continue. It's just going to be a continuous hyperbolic upswing of power creep, which, in every case, no matter where it's tried, ruins the game. I mean, I really don't want to be that guy, but that's kind of how it happens in every game. The moment you have that hyperbolic power creep with no reset button, you might as well just, put a chalk outline around your game and say, well, we tried our best, but it just didn't pull through. Treat it like a trauma patient. honestly. And people would say, well, what do you mean? Well, let's take a look. You have card games like Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is pretty much win it turn coin flip. If you lose the coin flip, you pretty much lose the game. I mean, I hate to be that guy, but it's just how it is. Like, you flip the coin, your opponent goes first. Your opponent can then play a magic card, like a spell card, a trap card, and then start doing this whole, I play this minion, use this minion to special summon a minion that sends minions to my graveyard, which then allows me to summon allows me to do another special summon or whatever of another minion, which allows me to fusion summon a monster, rinse, repeat. And if you have no way to interrupt that at all as the opponent, you're just literally dead on board, assuming your combo can actually outdo his combo. I mean, how many times did you see players go pot of greed into, hey, look, I have Exodia, LOL, I won on turn 1. There's a ton of win on turn 1s. I mean, even Magic the Gathering has a lot of win on turn 1s. Magic the Gathering has a win on turn 0. That's what I'm saying, is when your game gets that hyperbolic for win, for like win-loss, and for power creep, you've lost the plot. I mean, you take a look at, for example, Hearthstone, right? Hearthstone has a deck. Like, they had one of the most pernicious Warlock decks that was out there, the Draw Warlock, or the Borlock, or any of them, really. These decks were not win on turn 1. These decks weren't even win on turn 3. They were like win on turn 5. And they're considered fast, by the way. These are considered blazingly fast decks win on turn 5. There was a priest deck that was winning on like turn 2. And that got nerfed pretty quickly. So with that win on turn 2, people were like, well, they got a little sour about it. But nobody really plays Wild enough to do it, right? There's never really been a win on turn 2 in Standard that didn't have a counter. I think the most egregious one was the whole, you know, you get the perfect opening hand and you play Van Cleef. Okay. And then after you've played Van Cleef, the opponent plays the 2-mana Ironbeak Owl and laughs at you as you've now lost quite literally everything. So it's one of those, right? It's like, yes, we're going to complain about a card, and the opponent has the counter to it in their opening hand. Now, that doesn't mean that it was, you know, that level of Van Cleefery didn't happen. It did, quite often, really. And what was more befuddling was the fact that they were like, yes, well, we're gonna remove Ironbeak Owl because it's too strong as a 2-mana 2/1 silence a minion. We're gonna make it a 3-mana. But, you know, moving forward, they learned from those mistakes. They said, you know what, they kind of moved away from the whole, you know, card power creep thing. They kind of figured it out. I say kind of, Because they still make really stupid decisions nowadays. They start dipping down into that whole Tropic Thunder again. You know, they got one finger up their nose and one hand in the paste container, rummaging around for potentially anything that they could shove in their mouth. And that's been Blizzard lately. For example, I have had in the past, I've taken surveys in the past, and every single time I tell them, hey, look, you should really do this, you should really do that, in terms of, I don't want to tell them how to do their job. I really don't, right? I don't. But as a player, okay, I'm playing the game as a player who's a free-to-play player. There's zero representation of free-to-play players in Blizzard's card reveals. All their card reveals, from dawn until dusk, not a single one of them has a free-to-play player in their card reveals. A purely free-to-play player. It's always whales. Every single one of them is whales. They have people like Zeddy and Raren and Tice and Dreads and Regis Kilbin and it's like, where's the players that play free to play who can give an objective viewpoint on card reviews and not be sitting there literally ball polishing Blizzard? I swear they're like contractually obligated to ball polish. It's almost like Blizzard's like, well, if you want the bonus money and you want to sit down and you want these things, you have to give a glaring review to these cards. I'm sorry. A gleaming review to these cards. I'm sorry. I'm going to point this out. I looked at some of these cards, and some of them sounded really good, right? Like, for example, the new ones they brought out, which I will showcase in the next video. As a matter of fact, the very next video I'm going to make, it's going to be a Hearthstone video. So be prepared. And I'm going to showcase, these new cards that pretty much came out and how nobody's really using them. And of course, I'm going to be met with, but they're using them, and I'm going to be met with people giving me one empirical evidence point showing where one class is using a specific card. And I'm going to point out that the only way that that wins is if it plays against slower classes that won't win by turn, 6, turn 7, turn 8. If you're playing against people like Priest, who generally wins at turn, 46, then yes, that deck archetype looks really insane by comparison. Because that's what people do, right? They never look at things objectively. This is true. This is true no matter where you go, no matter what game you play. Like, for example, I will be getting the Call of Duty, the next Call of Duty, the Modern Warfare 4. So I will be doing the beta on the 21st through the 24th. The reason I'll be doing it is because, like I said, I was kind of leaning 60-40. 60 to yes, 40 to no. And I was really just hemming and hawing. And then when I read that they're going to have larger maps in there, the whole but will it snipe monkey neurons in my head decided to light up. And I'm like, I can have fun with it and make content with it. And so neuron activation happened, and so I will be getting the game. Not going to be getting the collector's edition, not unless anybody really wants to just be like, hey, I got it for you. You know, which I don't ever expect anybody to do that. I will be getting just the standard edition. Having said that, you have to balance things in games through the lens of, if people keep playing the same old thing, it gets stale. Same happens in card games too. Like, there's a ton of people that are still playing the same old, you know, Dragon Warrior decks. They're playing Mug Shaman, Z Shaman. I mean, yeah, I have a Z Shaman deck, but it's like, okay. It's like, you know, I want to see people shake it up and change things. But it's like, I also want to see people be objective too, right? I mean, not to be that guy, but I want to see some objective people talking about certain games. For example, Black Ops 7, right? I played the Black Ops 7 beta. And to me, it did not feel like a new Black Ops game. It felt like somebody had expanded upon Black Ops 6. It literally felt like Black Ops 6.5. It did not feel like a new game. It felt just old and rehashed. Truthfully. So, and what I was met with, when I said it felt old and rehashed, quite literally, the Black Ops ball polishers came out and said, I just suck at the game, and that's why I didn't like it. And to that end, I say, you're right. I am bad at the game. I'm not going to say I'm not. To do so would be disingenuous and would be folly. That'd be like me saying, yes, I'm not the problem, the game is. I don't do that. I'm clearly the issue in the game. I was terrible. 100%. I'll be the first to admit it. However, the game was also terrible. It just felt bad. Like, the double jump and everything, it's like, okay, that's whatever. And then as soon as people found out you could, like, slide all over the place and jump all over the place and act like a rabid baboon, that's all what the movement became. That's it. And they call themselves the movement crowd. Yes, they're all about the movement. And it's like, look, dude, nobody cares. Nobody cares. So you move around a lot and you end up going high on the kill death. Whoop-de-doo. And you're holding yourself to this level of scrutiny that you don't need to. Or you could be me. Goof off and have fun with your game. You know, you decide, I guess. And they'd say, well, I have fun with my game when I, play it to consistently beat my opponent. Okay. I guess. Personally, I've never understood that mentality, the win junkie mentality. But again, I've never been one. I've never sat there and been like, I've got to win the game. I don't care if I win the game. I really don't. I lose? Oh well, I lose. It's like, did the idea I was hoping to achieve work? That's more like it, right? Like the whole but will it snipe? It's like, am I happy? Am I happy with the outcome? No. Why am I not happy with the outcome? Not because I lost, but because I didn't get a chance to see if it actually worked. I mean, you know how many times I was livid because I could not get it to snipe because the maps didn't come up? A lot. There was videos way back when I first started out. There were times that I recorded videos twice, 3 times, and I couldn't upload any of the recordings because all of the matches I played weren't long enough. They were like 60 meters, 65 meters, 70 meters. Those are not long enough. You know, sniping to me is like anything over like 80, 85 meters. Anything excessively beyond the boundaries of a weapon. And the whole reason I did it was to put to bed all of those rumors of people cheating in Warzone. Because that's what it was back then, right? You had two types of people playing Modern Warfare. And 2 types of people playing Black Ops and everything. You had the people that were playing it to goof off and have fun, like me. And then you had the other people that were playing it like a job, and because they lost, they immediately started blaming everybody around them and calling everybody cheaters. And they were like, oh, well, they had too much damage at that range. This is why I did the but will it snipes. Yeah, it was in hardcore, but it shows that if you can get a kill in hardcore at 138, 140 meters, the damage component that you're getting in Battlegrounds and Warzone means that it's on par. It makes sense. Mathematically, it adds. I don't know. I mean, I sit down and I realize just how... I can't even really say pathetic, because, again, there are people out there that enjoy certain games, and I'm not trying to rob them of that joy. Not in the least. If you want to play a game and you enjoy it for your reasons, okay, fine. I don't want to be the one that takes that away from you. But I don't want to sit there and constantly say, ah, yes, this game is good because of insert reason, or bad because of insert reason. I try to be objective about the whole thing. 100%. And it's like with Hearthstone. And with, like I was saying earlier, and I got a whole bunch of... I've also taken surveys in the past, and it's like, you need to balance the game so that all things have a chance to thrive. But it's like they don't listen. It's not like I'm trying to tell them how to do their job. I'm just saying if you want a game to be healthy, everything has to kind of be on an even keel and leave it to the player's skill level to best capitalize off of that ability. How can I put this the best way? And make it really fit. Chess. Right? Chessboard, chess players, Magnus Carlsen, who's chess champion. All that jazz. If you sit him down and he plays against a complete rookie, he's gonna mop the floor with him, right? Same can be said with any other game. Modern Warfare, Hearthstone, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, chess, Go, Texas No Limit Hold'em, doesn't matter, right? The pro players that have invested a whole bunch of time are obviously going to be better than the rookies. But what I'm saying is, if you sit down to a game of chess or shogi, you sit down Magnus Carlsen to a game of shogi, okay? He kind of grasps the idea because he's played chess. He understands the general concept. And you set him down to it. But you give the opposing player better pieces out of the gate just because they're playing this specific archetype. Or it's as if you sit down to a chessboard and instead of pawns, the opponent has rooks. You're left with pawns, and in fact, your backline is not even the backline it is. They're just bishops, except the king. It's all bishops. So you have pawns and then bishops, and the opponent has rooks and then queens. That's effectively the state Hearthstone's in. Now, I'm not saying that you should balance the game so that it's actually like playing chess again. I'm saying that if you were to balance Hearthstone, don't be doing the nerf circle jerk, as I've called it on Twitter. Don't be doing the nerf circle jerk that you have been doing. Well, we're going to nerf Tol'Vir, and we're going to nerf this one, or we're going to nerf that one. No. Stop. Blizzard, put the nerf bat down and walk away. And instead, buff other cards of these archetypes over here on these other classes that are not being played right now because they're terrible. Then see how these archetypes work versus that when they're all about that even keel, roughly. Then you'll see. Then you'll get an actual cross-section. And I hope they take my advice. I hope this game rant, both card games, board games, physical games, virtual games, video games, I hope it doesn't dissuade you. I think people need to take a step back when it comes to games and take a look at it from an objective angle, like with GTA 6. I don't think that it's warranting a $100 purchase tag. I don't. Because nothing's changed from GTA 6 to GTA 3. Just hasn't. But anyway, except for online play, of course. But anyway, I hope everybody has a fantastic evening, a wonderful tomorrow, and as always, have a good one.